Okay, I got to do the background sounds again. That's a drone going through space. Pretty soon I'll be able to do background music and space sounds because you know space sounds are cool. After the first year. Okay, here's Mark and Sandy in the middle. There they are flying the aircraft, and you get inside and it goes into another dimension. Ah! Besides, that's our old name anyway, so I gotta change all of that anyway. Hello there. Yeah, let's go back. Hello, stop. There you go. See? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Only Visiting This Planet. Would it be any other show starting like that? And when you see me on the first, oh, yeah, I do have a new show, by the way. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's say hi to the other host of the show, Captainette Sandy Lou.
What's Hi. Up? Hi, everyone. It's good to be here this morning.
You're a little low, or is that me? I think maybe I'm just hearing you a little low.
I don't know. Am I low?
No, you're good. You're good. Okay. We could both get low if we want, but our sound is fine.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. That's much better for me, I'm sure, with everybody else. So what's up, Sandy? How are you?
Well, I'm great. But if you go outside our doors here in Amarillo, Texas, you might literally blow away. They actually told everybody to batten down their Christmas decorations because instead of tumbleweeds, you might see Frosty the Snowman rolling down the road. 40 to 50 mile an hour sustained winds. Yay.
Videotape that for me and send it to me. I want to see
that. One. That would be hilarious. To see all the tumbleweeds of Christmas decorations floating.
I love it. That's good. That's cool. So has John gone up and battened all your Christmas decorations down?
Well, considering we have 0.00 and haven't had any for years, no.
No, he doesn't have to do that.
He doesn't have to do that.
That's good.
Yeah, those were emptied out many years ago. So.
By the way, I have a new look. You want to see it?
Yes.
I just got these yesterday.
So are you ZZ Top?
It has to be. You know, that's the first thing everybody's going to say is, wow, ZZ Top is doing a show on the Lamb Network.
Dun, dun, dun.
Actually, Adina says first time I put them on and showed her, she actually said Men in Black. So you know,
with the beard, the beard, it looks ZZ all the way.
Yep. I ought to start doing my interviews this way. By the way, I have a new show, Sandy.
Tell me about your new show.
We're Susan and I are finishing up the update, which comes out this Sunday, and you'll be able to see a little bit more about that. But I've started a new show called Superheroes for the Messianic Lifestyle.
Yes.
And the whole idea is that when you support a specific lifestyle or a way of life, you know, which is a lifestyle, you champion that. And when you champion something, you become basically kind of like a superhero for that, because people look up to you. They want to hear what you have to say, that type of thing. So, with my new movie maker, has anybody noticed that Mark has a new toy?
Making movies. Director and producer Mark David Smith.
Has anybody noticed that Mark likes movies?
I've noticed that a very, very long time ago.
Yeah, well, I did. I got a few months back, about the same time we started acclimating over to YouTube. I came across a movie maker. I was trying to edit a video or whatever, and it just wasn't going right. So I went looking for an editing tool and ran across. And if anybody's interested, it's called Filmora, like Film Aura, Filmora, made by Wondershare, and it is absolutely amazing. It has the different layers that you can build things on and develop what you want. And it also comes with all kinds of special effects and that type of thing, and overlays and transitions. And I mean, if you've seen even one of my update videos from the very beginning, this is a product of Filmora Movie Maker. And if you're into that kind of stuff, it's relatively cheap. I mean, it's not real expensive, but and they have upgrades. They have all kinds of special effects packs. And when you think of special effects, you think like action movies, you know, where they blow things up and bullets and all that kind of stuff. And that is in there. You can buy that. You can get those in some of the packs, but there are also an amazing amount of other type things, and I am using the update that's coming out this Sunday that Susan and I put together. Is has quite a few of those new special effects that I've just got. And it makes for an amazing professional type video, especially when your brain is a little twisted like mine.
So does it give you suggestions too?
Excuse me?
My software, what I use is a far lesser version, and it's Cyberlink, but I'm willing to switch over to Filmora. Does it give you suggestions of ideas of how to make your movie better?
Oh, it's got you can look at their like wiki, if that's what you want to call it. In other words, it will tell you how to use some of the stuff. There's so many different ways. It's kind of like Lamb Radio's mixer. There's just countless numbers of ways to use it. So they can't really just tell you do it this way, because you may need to do it another way. And right. And so it gives you ideas, or it gives you basics of how to build your movie, but you really just have to go through the different elements of the software and play with it until you find quite honestly, I have it up here. I'm gonna for instance, there I'm looking at just the text credit part of it. There's 925 different effects that you can
Are they
use.
already loaded?
Yeah, they're loaded. No, they don't come preloaded. I have downloaded a lot. I paid for some of them.
We have to download mine too, and it takes forever, and so I don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, once you go in there and once you buy a few, they give you access to others. And I have gone in and got quite a few, because I'm going to have to tell you straight out, Sandy, I'm addicted to this.
Doesn't it take all your time, though, to learn?
Yeah, but once you learn, like, for instance, every time I do an update or a new video, I'm quicker at it because I know what I need to do. I know how to get there, and I know where I'm going. I know what I want to add in and that type of thing. So you get if that's what you want to do. But I'm addicted. I'm just flat out addicted to it. Because I have a creative mind and I want to create, and I've kind of done so many other things in my life. I've done this and finished. I've done this and finished. I've done this and finished. I've done this, and it just keeps progressing on. But I've done that. Been there, done that. Done being the key word. Now this it just builds on my creative senses. I love it. And so anyway, one of the effects in there is like a comic book superhero type, a whole bunch of effects on that. And I've been wanting to do this show called Superheroes for the Messianic Lifestyle for a long time. And see, 6 years, 7 years ago, back when we were doing podcasts before actual Lamb radio, I used to do interviews from different Messianic leaders, congregational leaders, Torah study leaders, just plain everyday folk that aren't leaders or big teachers or whatever. I did that and did a lot. We did maybe 40 to 50 different interviews from people around the world, and we called it Living Life Torah Style. And I did a whole bunch of them. And then I did that and done that. Moved on to the next thing, and I've been wanting to. Now that's been 6 or 7 years ago. Now I'm wanting to do it again, and there's so many more people, and I've already got a couple under my belt. Rabbis James and Abiyah Byers. I've done Don Hagedorn, and I did the other day. I've got a couple more I'm doing tonight, and pretty soon we'll do you and John and everybody else, and moving on. It doesn't have to be Lamb people at all, but once I'm doing this, I can actually get in there and put it up for others to see and that type of thing. So
but I think it's good that you're doing Lamb people, because you're promoting those who are promoting you.
Right.
So that's
very
good.
true. It's very true. And the great thing about it, I'm getting on our YouTube here so I can share it. By the way, everybody, please share us. Share the show if you like the show. Join us as we talk about nothing. Oh, no, that's not true. Okay, this will get people in. How about that? It is the subject for today. Sandy knows what I'm talking about. I haven't told you what the... Oh, you might be able to read. It is, yep, it's down there. If you want to know what we're talking about today, just look down in the comments, everybody, because that is our subject for today. And, it's, hey, it's either you're going to want to come or you're not going to want to come. Hey, whatever. So, but Sandy, I don't care. As a matter of fact, I just want to let everybody know that Sandy usually only gets the subject matter the day before we get going.
Night before. Night, evening before.
The night before. And that's me. But there's been a lot of times I write up a script and I'll give it to you a few days before sometimes. So it's not always true, but still. Anyway, so I'm actually sharing. And right below if you didn't know this, right below our video that we're doing here, you can hit that share button and share it with your social media also. So anyway, this new one, I've already got a couple. I'm working on it. I've got a lot of people that have answered my emails to do interviews. So this ought to be fun. It's interesting. You like my new black background?
I do. And
you
by the way, your email's partially answered from me.
I
have it in my drafts because I started to respond, and then something came on, and then it never sent. So partially answered.
Squirrel format. Is that
squirrel baby format? Baby under your feet format. Grandbaby. So.
I never get distracted.
Oh, yeah, with all seriousness, and how long can you hold that face?
I don't need to hold it at all. I went to turn my heater off a while ago, and I turned it on full blast instead. So
nice and toasty.
I may start taking layers off here in a minute. No.
So
Okay. That aside, once again, the update is coming out here next Sunday. Be sure to check that out. And so how's life in the Texas realm? Is living the Messianic lifestyle in Texas different than living it in North Carolina?
no.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that because John and I are a little different than everybody else, sometimes we have a hard road, but that would be safe for your show, your new show.
It
Yeah,
was.
because we're a little bit
Yeah.
different than everybody else, you know?
Oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
But
Okay.
I don't know. I think that as we've talked before, we've seen some trending where the numbers aren't necessarily we see people losing or distracted from this walk, I would say maybe. Not I'm not talking about life of worship, but in general, you know, from just things I've heard from other leaders, and we've covered that on this show. So, but yeah, I would say that it's probably pretty much the same, probably, maybe.
I
Who
don't think
knows?
it matters what state you're in. I think it matters what your state of mind is in as to the way you live your lifestyle,
That's
Messianic or not. So I don't know. It's good.
we're those weird messianics though that lay hands on people and pray and see healing and do deliverance and raise our hands and clap and dance and have prophetic words go forth. We're those kind of weirdies though. So we're a different breed.
You need to go. We talked about that with Rabbis James and Avi Byers and their background and all of that. So you ought to go watch. They're just the most super people. I think you'd really enjoy these interviews that I'm doing are just great. Sit around in the evening and like, okay, so what should we watch? What should we do? Let's watch some of these interviews. Let me tell you what, every one of them are just so totally different. You're going to find out that you're different, but you're the same, and everybody's got their own story, and it's completely different, and it's completely the same. That's what I love about our lifestyle and talking to the people of the lifestyle. So do you know why I bought this at Restore, the black curtains, and I did it so that my hair would stand. See?
Well, that's a good reason. It makes your ship stand out too. It pops in that background and it matches your hair and your sweater, mind you.
Oh,
I love color, and so I have a little bit of everything.
yeah. Well, see, that's another thing is that the background that's still there. These are just thrown over the what is it? Kind of a brown goldish background and everything. They looked way too much like your walls and your background, and I was afraid people would literally think that I was sitting across from you. See, and we're actually in the same room, and you have a table and curtain and everything, or they're your walls right there. I was afraid people were really going to think that, and then see, and that would be a lie, and I can't do that, so I had to change it up.
Okay, based on that, this is totally squirrel. My daughter-in-law came. This is about a year ago. She said, "Sandy, you just don't have any color in your house." She said that. And I looked at her and I said, "What? Have you what look at my house when you're here." Anyway, she said, "No, it needs to be teals and pinks, and that's the kind of color that's real color. This is just," she called my color, all of this, just brown.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, brown's not a color, you know that, right? And it kind of depends. Like if you're in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, those kind of states, then brown is really not a color. It's in gold. That's not really a color because everything around you are those colors. So yeah,
Anyway.
that's just natural. But I really kind of disagree. Now, so the color that's in your living room and your walls is not only manly, but it's also it can be unmanly. It can be, it's just color. It's good. I mean, women like color more than men do, but if you're going to have color, then have it a manly color. And I like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know anybody that doesn't like your background. Chat room, you guys like her background? Look at there. Everybody says they look like a rainbow. It's like a rainbow.
When I first married John, I he had this house and he repainted the walls of his house into high gloss white.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "You just did this for me every room." And I was like, "This is awful." And I said, "We need color in your house, our house."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he was so scared. He was terrified. And now he walks into a place that has white walls. He goes, "Wow, this place needs color." So he converted probably within the first year or two, but he was terrified. And then I was like, "Why would you put all this gloss on your walls? Maybe a bathroom, but every wall in the house?" Well, I thought that's what you should do. I was like, "No." But yeah, I converted him. He likes color now too.
Well, it's a little dark, maybe. I mean, I don't know that it's a little dark because these are the only lights that you have showing up here. So, you notice let me ask you this: you like the new video format rather than the audio format?
I like both.
You like both? Okay, let's
Yes.
say you're fine with the video.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you have to get up 3 hours early to paint your face and all that kind of stuff?
I haven't been wearing makeup except lipstick and 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 mascara. So
I don't think my daughter has wore any makeup. I don't know that she even has any makeup in her house. She just never wears it. I mean, and I always thought that was pretty cool. I don't know where she got that from. I mean, we didn't teach her
because
that.
you don't wear makeup, Mark.
What's that?
You don't wear makeup. You're not wearing any makeup.
Are you sure about that?
No.
Okay, well, there
But
you
go. People that are on videos and TV, and now that you're a movie maker, a director, and a producer, the men wear all the makeup as well. I remember running into Richard Roberts back at Oral Roberts University, and anyway, I did not. Oral Roberts, I was great. I loved him, having interaction with him. Richard, I had a little bit of an issue with because he had on all his makeup because he's getting ready to do the show, and he had the Kleenex out to protect the clothes. And he was a little rude at that time. I'm not saying he is now because everybody has our days and our moments. But yeah, people wear makeup when they're on video.
Yeah, I know. So I guess I ought to start wearing makeup. All right.
No, Mark,
fine.
you're fine.
I'll start next week wearing makeup. Lipstick and eyeliner is what you wear, right? So,
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. All right.
There are days though. There are days if I'm going somewhere, I'll put on makeup. Then I'll have that. But in general, I'm like, I don't have time. So
I was just kind of noticing. I was noticing my little mohawk I got going here. Nobody would know that if we weren't doing video. All right. Moving on. I guess we ought to talk about this. What about white people above the flat? Or Sean Hogan in the chat says, so what about white people above the flat earth? Ooh, that's interesting. Well, I mean, we're all above the flat earth. I don't think there's any people. Oh, well, Gesundheit there.
Sorry, I couldn't mute in time.
It's okay. It's all right. It's no problem. The white people are all over the earth, whether they are on above the flat earth or they live on the edges of the flat earth, or even if they live under the flat earth, they're still the same white people. And so we should, I hope that, well, bless you too, Sean. And I hope you understand that it makes no difference there around, um, all over. Anyway, okay. So I brought up this subject because actually, Sandy, I've been wanting to talk about this for a couple of months. It's been on the list, but everything kind of overrides me, And I am Caucasian. I am white. I'm considered non-black. I don't know. Let me start here, and Sandy and I briefly talked about this before we came on, just to give her kind of an idea of what we were doing, and a couple of things. First of all, I heard more than once that that Adam and Eve were actually um, black because it had all the colors of all the races, and then when they were as people moved on, and then the Tower of Babel and all this is just what I've heard is that also separated out different people, and then you got mixtures of races and people and that type of thing. That's why where you get the different colors. But the original Adam and Eve, it's perceived as they were actually black. It's interesting to me, and this just plays right in with everything else that I kind of have on my mind is that all the pictures and movies and everything that people talk about, even specifically in Christianity, back I remember everything was white. Jesus was white. I mean, look at the most common picture that's out there of Jesus. It shows him as being a lot like me, without the beard, completely clean shaven, long hair, blonde hair, white skin, Caucasian, the whole thing. When in fact we know he was Semitic, which is not basically white or even considered white. I don't think. I could be wrong. By the way, I can give you a telephone number to call in if you'd like to join in with us. The number is 910-803-3211. Once again, that is, I'll put this in the chat also, 910-803-32, oh, sorry, wait, 3211. And so call in if you want to join in with us. I don't want to make anybody mad, but I think this is interesting. So have you heard that about the fact that Adam and Eve were actually black and contained all the colors
No.
you had never heard that before? How
No,
interesting.
but I believe that within them is dirt's dirt, and there's nobody that's actually white and nobody that's really actually black. It's just colors of dirt. And that seed is within each and every person. It was within Adam and Eve. And of course, the Tower of Babel happened and there were separations as like joined with like. But dirt's dirt. We're all the same.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I mean, of course, there's a lot of things that we don't really have that that we can know for a definitive fact, unless you're a Hebrew scholar, and maybe that's in there. I would love to talk to Chris Matthews, who has studied these type of things out in detail. And anyway, so I have, I was raised in a family where they were not racist, but they were semi-racist. I mean, I heard my family speak derogatory things against black people and against Jews and that type of thing, but we weren't taught racism. Our family had a couple of black friends maybe, or whenever we talked to them, they were, or any other race. I shouldn't just specify that. But I did have family that spoke very derogatory things about Jewish people, called them different names and stuff. But I was not raised with heavy racism or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I still remember even in grade school having there's a black family that lived very close, and I don't remember in my small town in Kansas, southeast corner of Kansas, I do not remember a lot of different races back then. Mostly black people or African American. I don't mean to be racist by any term that I use during the show. I am not a racist person whatsoever. Matter of we have people that are African Americans on the Lamb Network, and they're some of the best people on the planet, and I know people of other races that I just don't see it that way. It's so interesting when people say, I don't see color. I don't see a race when I'm talking to somebody. I find that is, I don't believe you. I mean, it's there. I mean, when I look at Sandy, I see a woman. I don't think of her as a woman, but you know what I'm saying, though. I mean,
Well,
and I talked to John. John's a man. I mean, it's not. I'm constantly thinking John's a man, Sandy's a woman. I'm not thinking that, but I know that when I'm talking to you, I don't talk to you the same way I talk to somebody, to a man. Maybe. I mean, you've heard me talk to John just there a little bit ago. And it's the same thing with a different race of people. I don't necessarily talk differently to them, but my eyes see that difference there. Go ahead, Sandy.
I was raised in a home that there were two kinds of people: classy people and trashy people. People that kept their word and worked and did things, and people that did everything else. So I wasn't raised that other way. In fact, in college, I went out. You didn't. If I went out with a rainbow of different. I mean, it just was that way. And I understand the phrase that I don't see color, because people are people until those old things came in where you didn't keep your word, or you're not taking care of and I know you say, well, I see the difference between a man and a woman. It's very obvious, but honestly, when I'm relating to people, I don't, unless you do something, unless somebody does something that's all about this race or all about that race, and they start promoting that, that's when there's a separation for me. Otherwise, I don't relate that way to whatever color your skin might be, because to me, it's so irrelevant. Now, I do relate. You are a believer, you're a non-believer, you are that, you're a person that follows the word, takes care of themselves, whatever. I do follow along those lines. And so I understand the phrase that when I'm introduced to somebody, to me, they're all different. If you know John's Indian. And when he's got Scottish, he's got all that in him. But from April or May until September, October, he is darker than most people. Because his skin is darker than most, actually. And in fact, some of the people, because we're blessed to have an assortment of people with different backgrounds in our congregation, but he's darker than most of them. So skin is skin. And I do understand that phrasing, but here today, especially starting with the Obama administration, they've been pushing so hard to bring division among the races. They have been. It was sort of blurred, an issue that was blurred and not an issue, and now it's become this issue because they want the issue, because they want the division, because they want the anarchy, and they want the chaos. And so now in society, where it wasn't such a prevalent topic or even this big thing, now it's a huge thing among everybody. And if you don't see the division in the races, then they want you to see that. And that's where we are now. So people want everybody else to think that this person's different than this person, and that et cetera, et cetera. And it's what the news pushes. It's what society pushes now. And to me, it's completely wrong, but it is what it is. So now everybody is pushing more like this race is this race and this race is this race and we're different. And it's just sad because that was not the way I was raised. I was not raised with that mindset at all. People were people, but that's not the way the status quo is anymore. And so we live in a society now that will point out the differences to try to bring division instead of pointing out what makes us the same.
Very interesting. And I think we would hear the same story and a different story from each different person that we would talk to. It's all in how we were raised. It's where we were. I'm getting in the chat room from Tova. Tova says, my family was colorblind because I'm from the South. People assume because I'm from the South, people assume I'm racist. That infuriates me. The only things I discriminate against is stupidity and hate.
Well,
hey, Tova, I'm in the same club. I agree with that. Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, I was going to say that misnomer about the South is wrong too, because I'm in Texas. That's part of the South. Because in reality, if you look back, and goes back to the Civil War stuff, which, by the way, I would love to have those guys on again, or him on again. Anyway, the North was far more racist even than that, because it was just hidden in a bunch of, it was just a lie. Let's just put it that way. But my family in Nebraska, I go to them, and not my immediate family, but whenever I go visit my relatives, which is very rarely, I am shocked by what I hear come out of their mouths. And I'm so glad I did not grow up in there. I'm glad I grew up in Texas.
Once again, you can call in, talk to us, 910-803-3211. Do you think white people are more racist in general all over on the planet than other races?
Absolutely not. In fact, I've had people come through our congregation that have said, like the first guy that ever accepted Yeshua, Jesus at the time was what we called him then, way back then. And he said he would never step into a room with a white person because he couldn't stand white people. In fact, I have heard that from a lot of people.
And you said he was white?
He can't stand white people. I've heard
that. No, he is white.
He was Hispanic.
Okay, I get it.
But I've heard that very often. I hear that kind of phraseology from people that are coming in that are not white than white. I don't hear that from that. I hear it from other races. I can't stand white people. I hate white people. I would never even speak to white people. White people are terrible. White people are awful. I hear that kind of talk from all the time, but I don't hear it. I don't hear it from people that happen to be classified as Caucasian.
It's interesting because I know white people that hate white people. You know, it's so all over the board. I think in the past 50 years, 40 years, it has changed so much in that you have people that are mad because of the way white people treated the blacks. There are people that are mad because of the way blacks are treating whites now because of slavery. They still hold that.
Get over it.
I agree. I do. But
I mean, I have family
that was the same way. Well, go ahead.
I have family. If we want to go that way, if we want to hold grudges, which I don't, and we don't, I have family that were taken out, shot, and so many great grandparents. He was killed by Indians, and so were my the uncles and things like that. And they took his wife, my great grandmother, and the daughters to live with them. I could be holding grudges. Get over it. Past is past. We all have a past. Get over it, people. And I know if people are listening to this, they're probably going, you know what? If you want to hold on to something in the past, you just do that, and you're going to get stuck there, be full of bitterness and hate, and go down a road you're never going to recover from unless you have Yeshua. So there you go.
I'm with you. Good. I'm with you. I keep getting some kind of a notification here, and I'm not seeing. If I'm getting a phone call, I'm not seeing it, and so I apologize. I really do because I am hearing some kind of a notification, a couple of them, and I'm not seeing what I'm getting here. So, anyway, I agree. It is a get over it. I 100% am with you on that. So once again, I don't even want to stay. I don't even want to go, and we could always go a billion different ways. And I'm perfectly fine taking this into any other shows, future shows, or whatever we're going to do. But I really am focused on white people because white people, to me, have tried so hard to be dominant because they're white. For the since the beginning of time, as far as I see, what it is, I'm white, I'm supreme, that type of thing. I mean, right up to today, we've had ups and downs. I don't know. I have not studied all of this out. Let me go back real quick. I want to go to Wikipedia and give the definition of what, and I think this is really good. It says white people is a racial classification specifier used mostly and often exclusively for people of European descent. The term has at times been expanded to encompass certain peoples of Middle Eastern, North African, and South Asian descent, persons who are often considered non-white in other contexts. The usage of white people or a white race for a large group of mainly or exclusive European populations defined by their light skin, among other characteristics, in contrasting with black people, Amerindians, and other colored people or persons of color originated in the 17th century. It was only during the 19th century that this vague category was transformed into a quasi scientific system of race and skin color relations. The term Caucasian is sometimes used as a synonym for white in its racial sense and sometimes to refer to a larger racial category that includes white people among other groups. I agree with that. I personally think that it's it's one thing. We're never going to get over it. I think this says something about the 17th century. I think it has always been. We've always, I mean, from every history that I've ever read, no matter what it is, it's whether you're considered European or a white race or white people, if you are different, period. And I mean, it even comes down to me as a man wearing long hair, me as a man having my beard as long because I don't conform to the regular way of things. I mean, there people look at me differently. I think it's very similar to looking at somebody from another race, whether you're Asian or Indian or black or whatever it is. It's just a simple fact that once again, I think it's something that is instilled in each person. And I go back to I literally know people that are white that were raised in a 100% African American community, and they can't relate to white people. They can't relate to other people that are the same exact. They are 100% Caucasian, and they can't relate, and they are even against white people because they were raised in a black. I've known a couple of people in my life that were like that, and I was somewhat friends with them as far as they would let me be friends. So, go
Well,
ahead.
I just know that I think that the perspective that you have that white people have always sort of ruled things like that, because I don't believe that. I mean, like when you go, it's because that's what our paradigm is. We live here in the United States, which when you look at the population, it's not at the skin color that's classified as white is not necessarily the main anymore. But like when John's had been in Africa, he would receive a lot of persecution because he was white. When he's gone to other countries, because he's been all over the world, it's a completely different story because that's the culture. It's a different culture, but the culture that we see here right now happens to be Europe and the United States, Canada. We have the population that's very European, so we see that we're on top, or so to speak. That, and I'm not. That's a terrible statement. That's wrong. That you see the faces.
It's hard. It's hard to make a right statement. Go ahead, as you're saying.
It's just not that way right now. When I was working with the Department of Human Services back in the 80s and 90s, if you were a white male, you were probably not going to get hired. If you were a white female, you were next to almost nothing. If you were, and then there was a racial structure of hiring, and white was at the bottom. And you see that now. To be white in society today, classified as that, is almost a shameful thing. You almost, and I hate that. That's so wrong because it's being racially pushed. This agenda, it's an agenda. It's an agenda from the powers that be that want such division. And right now in society, hiring, it's almost like you have to apologize because you have skin color that's lighter, and it's messed up. But I mean, if you look at powers in the world that have gone past, there were times when the Ottoman Empire ruled. There was times when Egypt ruled. There are times when different races of people have ruled, and that was then that was the powers that be. But let's just take a look. Since we're in our tour portion, we're talking about Joseph. Where's a question posed to me at tour portion, or not a question, a comment, and they said, well, Joseph wasn't recognized, and this was a quote. Joseph wasn't recognized, and Egyptians are black, and because Egyptians are black, then since he wasn't recognized, he must be black because the Hebrew people are black. And I made the comment, I said, you got to understand that the whole world came to Egypt. The whole world the known world was in famine, and Egypt owned the land. They owned the people. And I said, so therefore, I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm just saying that every race was visible there. The expectation was that Joseph would not be second in command of the whole world, and he'd make up and look like an Egyptian, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody gathered there, so thus there was mixture even in that, and that's what we see today. I don't think that people that call themselves black, and even people that call themselves white or Hispanic, if you go back, I don't think there's rarely any. We're all a little bit of everything, actually.
I agree.
If that was the truth, we just get born, and we happen with a certain DNA that gives us a certain propensity towards a certain color. We're all mixed up people, so.
Well, through the years, a couple of years that we've been doing the show, and we're off and on. I know that, I have had a lot of different shows where I play different songs, that kind of go along with this, and have brought this up because I think this is a very dominant issue that, once again, and I'm with you 100%. Every one of us need to get over it. I think it's just too strong for anybody to get over it. I mean, that has strong feelings already. It's one of the hardest things for a person not to make their mind think that way. I think you have to go through a major change in your mind to something extreme has to happen for you to see things differently. I'm looking here. at the chat room here. Are you watching the chat room too?
Yes, that's why
Uh,
you keep seeing my arm go over.
yeah, it's okay. See, let's. It's Tova is always very, very uh, out there with what I mean. No, I don't mean out there. I mean, she's always she posts some great things, and she doesn't have a problem posting it. That's what I like. I was speaking to a wonderful Christian lady yesterday who loves Jesus very much. No doubt of this. She said to me in 30 seconds, at least four times, "I'm not Jewish." We were speaking in the context of why I do not observe Christmas but keep the feast of Yehovah. It occurred to me her tone and defensiveness in saying that so many times that she has an anti-Semitic spirit. I doubt she knows. Well, I mean, if you know my testimony, quite honestly, I was anti-Semitic and didn't know it. I mean, I think that that's good. I'm glad you brought this up. Tova, because it does bring me back to a time when my wife and I were in the Christian church, and we were given the chance to. I was given the chance to go to Israel, and I wanted to go over and walk where Jesus walked, and all this. This was a Christian church, and the tour that we were going on was a Christian tour, but it was a Pray for Israel tour. It was led by somebody that was very pro Israel and the Jewish people, but it still was very Christian. And in putting this together, and once I was there and met somebody from a Messianic congregation. There were 5 people on the tour that were fully Torah observant and Messianic. They were just pro Israel and were on this specific tour. And I got to meet a guy that he is the one that led me into the understanding of Torah and what it was all about. When I came back, we changed our lifestyle, we acclimated into this. But that is the point when I realized that I was anti Semitic and didn't know it. Literally, the more I found out about Torah and the Jewish people and Israel, which my wife already had the understanding and the Lord had already imparted to her, that type of thing. I didn't realize that I was anti-Semitic. I mean, like we were talking about at the beginning, I was raised. I didn't. I'm sure it's the same thing with another race of people. I'm sure that I could be racist and not know it because I'm not thinking along those lines. And I think for the most part, I think most people are that way. They are anti-Semitic or they are racist against a specific race, whether they're white or whether they're of an Asian race or the black race or Semitic race or whatever. That they could be racist and just not know it because that's just the way they are. And that's why I'm saying when you say get over it, if this is imparted into you from birth, it's not as hard, it's not as easy to get over as, like our change of a religious system, our belief system. And it is a belief system. So we have to have something that impacts us that would cause this. We just are not going to say, oh, it's wrong for me to look at a Jew this way. So I won't look at it that way anymore. I needed something that impacted me for me to change my way of thinking. Gotta change your way of thinking. And we always go back to Bob, I guess.
I don't
Uh,
But doesn't
Okay.
it go back to divided, that spirit of division? We should be right now, to me, of course, this is not the show today, but to me, where I find myself having to really watch and hit my face and say, Father, I'm sorry, is for people that aren't in the kingdom, for people that are pushing an agenda that tries to destroy the kingdom or destroy our society as we know it. I have an issue there, and I'm really having to deal with that. But right now, the bottom line is, people, if they believe in Jesus or believe in Yeshua, either way, and you call yourself a believer, we need to forget those other issues and come together so that we are united, because that's the only way. That's how we accomplish things, because the enemy wants to divide us however he can. And if that's working for him, which society has joined along with him, let's talk about color, let's talk about race, and let's be divided, then he accomplishes what he desires, because we're focused on that stuff instead of what's important. And instead of coming together, imagine the army of Yahweh, full of every color and everything, rising up and becoming one, forgetting all this superficial junk. Imagine the power. Imagine how we would affect the world as we know it. Just a
Oh,
thought.
I agree. Yeah, I do agree. I'm with you. Um, Going to a movie I saw just a couple of days ago. And you guys may have seen this if you follow new movies out there, if you are familiar with it. I did watch, and once again, this is not one that I recommend. I mean, this is totally up to you. I'll describe the movie to you, and you can decide for yourself. Depends on your regulation of what you watch and don't watch. I watched the movie called Black K Klansman. Are you familiar with that, Sandy? Have you seen that
Never
out
heard of
there?
it.
Never heard of it. It was actually nominated for a Golden Globe. We haven't come around to the Academy Awards yet. I don't know, but it's very well done, and it is about a black man that brought down David Duke. If you can imagine. I'm sure there's not much history on this, but it's very interesting. It's a black guy that I can't remember exactly where it was now. I think it was in the South somewhere, but he grew up wanting to be a cop, and it was during the days when they didn't have black cops. They may have, and it was in the early days of David Duke, when David Duke was very popular, and you had all of his things that were, he was trying to put out there for racism, and getting the Klan together. And Klan had been together for a while, but they were doing smaller groups all over the United States. And this black guy wanted to become a cop. They made him the first cop of a police officer of this area. And he wanted to be a detective, and they needed a detective for something, and undercover cop. So in the days of Carmichael, when he was going around, he had quit the Black Panthers and was going around getting also groups of black people together to rise up, to be strong and everything. This black guy went undercover to one of those meetings, wearing a wire so that the police department could hear what was going on in this huge black meeting. And so the black guy sees the telephone number. If you want to get a hold of the Ku Klux Klan, call this number. And he called the number as a black guy, but speaking in a white voice. So on the phone, you would not know that he was black. I mean, he spoke in a different jargon or whatever. And just naturally, this black guy spoke a little different than the, I don't know how you put it, the way that you can kind of tell if you're on the phone sometimes with a black person, who they are. Well, he spoke to them in a way that you couldn't tell, and they took to him police officer going undercover. He was white, went and infiltrated their Ku Klux Klan whole unit. And it carried on and on and on and on. But it was very well done. It eventually brought that area, the Klan, down in that area to a certain point. You could never do away with them. But it was extremely interesting to watch the process of both sides, because at that time, and also still now, the uh, both sides, like Sandy has been talking about, it is a huge issue to uh, black power and white power. As a matter of fact, just 2 days ago, there is an article. If you'll go to www.kait, the number 8.com, you're going to see just 2 days ago that there was a Columbia University student just went off on campus about being white and the white race and how dominant they are, and it's the best thing that ever happened to the world and the whole thing. And of course, this thing went viral because that's what people want to see. And from either side, you're going to get people that want to dominate and want to be a part of this. And so it's interesting to me that even though we say you need to get over it, and I agree with Sandy, I still think it's an individual. Each person has to deal with this issue among themselves, and I don't think there is an answer to it.
But you see the prejudice in the reporting of the story. Do you know how many times you have other races that are doing the same thing and going off and doing that, but you don't hear that? You hear it about this stupid white guy that does it because they want the people to hate you if you happen to be lighter skinned. That's what the world wants. Let's hate and destroy them. And because those enraged moments are among the other races too. You hear about them locally. Well, but you see them, you hear about them, but those don't make the big news because that's not going to promote the agenda of the powers that be.
I'm with you.
So, anyway,
I am with you. And so once again, there's no answer to this, but I love to discuss this. I love to bring this out in the open, and we didn't get any phone calls. There's not a whole lot of people that are on. Hopefully, people will watch this, the archives of this, and give us some feedback and that type of thing. But that's about all I had. I just I've been wanting to bring this to the forefront and discuss it with you, Sandy. I sure wish John was here.
yeah, he'd have something to say.
I love John's input. I do, especially on these types of. Okay, let's see. We have a couple of comments here. Once again. Let's hear from Joe Cameron. My dad's mom and grandmother was half Cherokee, and she did not want to meet my mom because she thought my mom dark-skinned Hispanic. The funny thing about the whole thing is my grandmother's darker skin than my mother is very white-skinned with black hair. There you go. I mean, when you see somebody, does it make a difference to you? Do you treat them different? Do you talk to them different if they are a different colored skin? than you are, because like what we've been talking about, there is so much mixture these days. Oh, it's interesting. This plays right into this. We were at Walmart checking out yesterday, and the whole time we went in, got groceries, and I had to get a couple other things. And in the store, a couple of times, I saw this young lady, and she had two real little ones. Maybe one was 4 and one was 3, maybe. Now, the mother, to me, and this was noticeable, I don't think it's wrong. It was just noticeable to me, and it made me wonder why. I don't see a negative. I thought the little girls were absolutely adorable. The mother was very nice looking. She looked Hispanic. The two little girls looked 100% Asian. As a matter of fact, they were very white skinned. They looked 100% Asian, but the mother looked 100% Spanish. And when they were checking out at the checkout, you do your own checkout. Next to us, I heard her speak in Spanish. And so it made me, the kids, I heard one of the kids, the older one, respond to her in Spanish. And so maybe her husband was Asian. Is it wrong for me to notice that and wonder what their nationality or race is?
No, not at all. But I want to have you ever, what do we notice about people? Well, sometimes we notice what they wear, what does their hair look like? What we observe. That's
Very
the bottom
true.
line. But we haven't even taken the show into the area. On the Democratic side, we have those that have perceived themselves as Black, that declare themselves Black, those that have perceived themselves as Indian or Hispanic. Beto and the Irish guy, Beto, who was in Texas, who wanted everybody to see his personification as Hispanic. So that's a whole nother deal. That's a whole nother show probably, but is it wrong to notice differences? It's not wrong to notice differences. We're taught to be observant, but to see them as, I don't even know how to say it. People.
Go ahead.
I
Speak your
don't have
mind.
people are people.
What's that?
People are people.
People are people.
And there. I'm not saying where my mind is right now, because it's not on race right now. It's more on the cultural, the divide in the nation. That's a whole nother, big divide in the nation.
Here's my deal. I mean, in seeing this, noticing them, I had not one negative thought in my mind. Not one in any direction whatsoever at all. The two little girls were the cutest little things that they were, and there was nothing wrong with this. I would say my only, and it wasn't against them, but I do have a negativity against people from another country coming into the United States and not learning the language. That I do, and expecting us to understand them, or they don't understand well enough to communicate in the country. I can remember years ago working in Texas doing construction, and there were a lot of Hispanic men working the website or the construction sites. And of course, you had to communicate with them because you were in construction too. And I'll never forget, more than one, you would talk to them or say something to them about what was going on to try to communicate with them. And with no accent at all, I'd hear, "No comprende, man."
All right.
I didn't find it funny at the time. So that I have a problem with. And it doesn't make you can be a white person from another country speaking another language, French or whatever, and come over here and not want to learn the language and expect us to communicate with you. I have a problem with that.
Well, I like what Rico says. If you go to another country, you learn their language, you learn their ways, you acclimate to them, they don't acclimate to you. And he says in Israel, you learn the language, you learn the culture, you learn the history. Now, I have it. These are where my issues are. You're coming into our country, the United States, and you're bringing your flag and burning the United States flag and wanting to leave your society for this society, but you want to make this society like yours. Hello, people. That now these are my issues. These are some issues I have. So yeah, but that's again, that's another show.
And I'm perfectly fine with carrying it over with different subjects as we go on. As a matter of fact, if John is at all available or can plan it for next week, I'd love to have him join in with us.
I will ask him.
And anybody else that wants to join us on the show in this discussion, we would love. As a matter of fact, Joe, I'm inviting you in next week. And Tova, if you would like to come in on Hangouts with us, we would love to have you. And, just discuss this even more. If you're missing Sandy and I doing our skits at the beginning and, having a formatted show with the guests and the different things that we're doing. After the first of the year, I plan on kind of going back, acclimating some of that back into it and doing some things. Right now, me getting the network set up, when we first started going from Lamb Radio and doing video on YouTube, I was so thrilled about it and thought, oh, this is going to be so much easier and so much better. It is. It's a lot easier, but I had no idea the work that was involved in getting us to that point. And so I'm really very heavy on that and the different things that I'm working on. So eventually, once the radio station shuts down, see, you got to remember, I'm running 2 networks right now. I am running the radio station and I'm running the Lamb Network YouTube channel, and so it's a lot on me. After the first of the year, I have some ideas and some things I want to bring in, so be looking forward to that, and we'll put that together and have more fun along with the serious stuff. So anyway. Anything else you got to say there, Sandy? I'm kind of digging my little.
You're copying me.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, both of us look like monkeys now, holding the top of our head.
Okay. Look at it. I got a major
You're making
mohawk,
it bigger.
major mohawk going there. No, look at
I have nothing else to say.
Would I be wrong if I said how?
Yes.
Okay, I take that back. I'll edit that out.
All right.
All right. I love everybody. I do. I love everybody. That's all there is to it. Just I like making people laugh. I like people to smile and not be depressed. And so, I mean, if you're looking at this will go down in the history here, I think, some way. Anyway, Sandy, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Ta-ta, everybody. Share this video with your friends. Surely they want to see this. And we'll go check out the website. Man, the website is exploding. It is. Just check out the website. If you haven't been there in the past day or two, you should go today. It is amazing. There's all kinds of stuff going on over there. So later on, Sandy, take us out, and I'll mute and shut up.
Okay. Father, we come before you right now and we thank you for the opportunity to discuss the issues at hand, that you've given us a format where our voice could be heard. Father, let this voice reach all around the world, Father, to people that need to hear. And Father, over our subject matter of the day, we pray that those walls of division come down so that we can truly unite as your people, as those who would call themselves believers, and have our gaze and our eyes focused upon you, not the things of the world, not what the world would try to direct our eye to, but Father, let us learn to love each other and see each other through your eyes, Father, not through our own flesh. Father, we thank you that you are doing something here at Messianic Lamb Radio, just as you're doing something within the earth. Father, we thank you for that. Have your way among us, in us, and through us. We give you this time. We give you our day. We praise you and exalt you in Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Amen. And remember, be excellent to each other.